Hey there guys, we're going to be going to the Physalis crown fight, and I'm going to be showing you a slightly cheaper way to do this. The missions are no continues, no KOs, 5 turns or less. The boss is a dragon demon, and it's locked to dark lineage units only. Now before we discuss my team, I'll show you my personal options for dark lineage. As you can see, it's a really narrow pool, and if I remove the premium units, so not using Flaring Rain or Dark Laswell, I basically have no damage dealers available except for Reagan, the free Reagan. And as you can imagine, the free Reagan all by himself probably cannot carry this. So in order for me to demonstrate a clear, I basically have to use one of the premium units. Also, we are not going to use Dark Lineage Fina. Now, she is absolutely amazing for this fight, for all the mitigation, status immunity, and more importantly, both of the killers at a high percent. But, you know, a lot of you said, I don't have Dark Lineage Fina, what do I do? So we're not going to use her. We're also not going to use Rain. Okay, so this is the party we're going to use. Now, my premium Laswell is only EX1. That is a pretty big handicap, meaning he is going to only, he is not going to have his 150 amplify, and because I don't have his STMR, I'm forced to do a really bad dual wield build. He is so much better at EX2, but I don't have him. But anyway, I'm going to demonstrate that an EX1 Laswell is all you really need to carry the fight, and the rest of the party is just bad units. You know, Seacard and Folk are 5 stars. Reagan is completely free, and Physalis is 100 years old, and she's not good. But she is going to help a little bit, though. Also, I'll mention that Physalis is partially crowned. We use the crowns from levels 1 and 2 to get her 2/3 of the way to her crowned abilities. Anyway, let's get in here and do a clear. I'll explain turn by turn. It's a little tricky doing it this way because, you know, we don't have Flaring Rain. If you do have Flaring Rain or Deoxys, you can OTK this on turn 2. And actually, you can also OTK it on turn 2 if you've got an EX2 Laswell. I have none of that. So, well, I mean, I do have Rain, and I showed the Rain video already, but you get the idea. Anyway, so on turn 1, Seacard is passively AoE physical covering. So we're going to use him to do Dark Breaker, or any of the breakers. Dark Breaker, Light Breaker, Earth Breaker, just one of the breaker materials for an 85% break. Folka, because we couldn't fit status immunity, and I'm not using Dark Lineage Fina, we're going to use Folka instead. So what she's going to do on turn 1, she's going to do Cerulean Shell for the magic mitigation on turn 1, and then Flowing Waters for blind immunity. I couldn't really fit blind immunity. Okay, Physalis is going to start in the base form. That's important because she is squishy as hell. So we're going to start her in the base form for Auto Mirage. I'll show you the gear when we get there. Then on turn 1, we're going to shift and do, in this order, Magic Gunner, Self-Enhancement, and then load F-Type as the final action. Now, our EX1 Laswell is going to do Triple Cast. We're going to do Magnus to fill his LB gauge, Limiter off for the modifiers, and final Mirror of Equity. Reagan Dark Lineage is going to Ice Imbue, don't imbue fire, Ice Imbue, Cooldown, and then Crimson Flame. Okay, so this turn, as long as the stomp doesn't hit the same person twice in a row, we're fine. If he does double stomp someone not evading, we'd be in trouble. He stomped Laswell and Seacard, not a problem. That does ignore cover, so we're good. Okay, so on turn 2, we need Fire Resist in case the boss does Atomic Ray. So Folka is going to use Dual Cast from an item, and she's on the Carbuncle Esper. We're going to bar Farega from Carbuncle, and then we'll just use Curaja to top the party back up. Okay, Seacard will go ahead and do physical cover this turn, as well as, honestly, whatever else doesn't really matter. So physical cover and bar Stonega, it really doesn't matter, so just physical cover. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start getting ready for the burst next turn. So we want to push the boss as close to 70 as we can without going over this turn. We're going to do a big burst on turn 3 when Reagan's SLB is ready. So we're going to use the LB of Physalis, and then we're just going to Absolute Mirror of Equity our DPS unit. So Absolute Mirror of Equity and Absolute Mirror of Equity. We are not going to use their LBs. So this, based on my gear, should get the boss to somewhere around 80 to 77%. So let's give it a go. And now, once again, we need the boss to not double stomp someone, and hopefully no one dies here. This is a little bit of RNG, so hopefully stomp on Lastwell, stomp on Physalis, that's fine. And then Apocalypse. This is going to kill Physalis, but she has Guts equipped, because Physalis is just the worst ever. So there we go. Guts on that, not a problem. If the boss had done Atomic Ray, we had Fire Resist. So now we're going to do some bursting here. So we're going to use the base LB of Lastwell, and he's going to be the first person clicked for the Katana Imperil. Then Reagan is going to SLB, and we're going to use Physalis' LB again. She autofills her LB because of the cooldown we used on turn 1. And now we're going to chain this up, but we're not going to use Folka or C card yet. This is going to push that 70% threshold. So let's go ahead and deal our damage here. Give this just a minute. Okay, decent chunk of damage. Now the boss is going to threshold. It's going to be a 50% unremovable defense buff, and then he is going to end his turn and do nothing else. That defense buff is going to massively nerf our physical damage on this fight. But that's okay. We've got the boss mostly dead, and we're going to be able to finish it off next turn with more LBs. So what we're going to do, C card is going to, after all that, double cast. We're going to double cast Sweet Charm, make sure it's enhanced. That'll fill 20 LB gauge for the party. Folka will do Rallying Cry for another 5. Now, if you don't own the item for Rallying Cry, you would have to just rely on like RNG crystal drops. But with Rallying Cry, we can guarantee an LB on turn 4 again. So there's the threshold, defense buff, and he ends his turn. So now we're going to reload and do 20 more fill with C card and 5 more fill with Folka. That's going to guarantee fill the entire party. That's a grand total of 50 LB gauge from C card and Folka, and then our 2 DPS in the back are wearing 10 auto limit, and then the Physalis has a small LB gauge. So we just reload again, and we do our final burst. And there we go. Now, even though the boss is very, very bulky to physical at this point, Physalis does a little bit to help us out, and he still does take physical damage. There's our clear. I'm going to lock it in because I already showed you the turn 2 OTK with the Powerful Rain, and this is the only other alternative I think I can really do, is a EX1 Lastwell without using Dark Lineage Fina. So there it is. I'm actually curious to see the damage breakdown. Wow, that is surprisingly similar. That is surprisingly similar damage breakdown. Look at that. Okay, so Physalis, I was bad talking Physalis. I guess, honestly speaking, she carried her weight here. We needed Physalis. Okay. Mine's only EX2, though. At EX3, she gets a lot better because she gets 1,000 flat magic. But there's our all mission clear without Dark Lineage Fina, without Flaring Rain, without Deoxys, without the brand new Twin Reagan and Saul, etc. So I will go and show you the team's gear that we used. So as far as Espers go, we want Folka on an Esper to cast Bar Farega. The boss, it's random if the boss does Atomic Ray on turn 2 or not. Last time he did Apocalypse, not Atomic Ray, but if he had done Atomic Ray, we would have wanted that Fire Resist. Anyway, other than that, just gear for killers and all that. So here's the gear that we did use. So C card is full evasion. Provoke doesn't matter, just full evasion. And give him, everyone needs to be immune to Paralyze and Confusion. We are not buffing Paralyze and Confuse Resist. Also, give him, if you can fit it, and I'm sure you can, 100 to Fire, Earth, and Dark resistance is very helpful. Also, give him the Runda Shield. Because he's a physical tank, this will automatically cast a 50% general mitigation for 2 turns for the party, and this helps us survive the stomp attacks if they hit someone. So there's the setup, and give him a breaker material. Dark Breaker, Light Breaker, Numbing Thunderbird, something that breaks stats. And then whatever, I gave him a mana card just to make him not run out of mana. Folka is using the Lion's emblem. If you own it, if you don't, you would have to rely on RNG for crystal drops. If you do own it, great. A source of dual cast, and she's full evasion as well because we don't want her to die to stomp. Other than that, a little bit of fire, earth, and dark resist is helpful. And there's the setup. It's all the gear that really matters for her. Is a little bit of resist, full evasion, dual cast on an Esper for fire resist from Carbuncle, etc. Faisalus in the base form is using, this is optional, but if you have this, it'll give her a 4,500 point barrier because she's squishy as all hell. I gave her the Obsidian Bracer. This is the most important thing. Antiquated Uniform. This is a permanent 5-star STMR. You can UOC Manure if you don't have this. This gives her a Mirage on turn 1. Not required, but it cuts down on RNG because if she gets hit with Stomp on turn 1, she's so squishy. She just dies, and we don't like that. And then I gave her a Wisdom of Hess and Auto Faith as well. Shift Form is a gun build. Now, we're not using gun in peril, so it's not the greatest. But gun build, Guts, because she's so freaking squishy and she gets killed on turn 3. Other than that, 20, or actually you don't even need that. No, you don't need any resistance actually because she gutses anyway. And there we go. LB damage versus dragons and demons. Decent gear and maxed LB damage and magical killers of maxed out demon and 225 dragon. And her crown ability, as you can see, was only at, where is it? Somewhere in here. I don't even know. Where's her freaking crown ability? Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's only at EX2. We didn't go to EX3 yet. Or the crown. I don't know. You get the idea. We just got the last crowns for her. Lastwell Dark Lineage in the base form. Because mine's only EX1, I don't have his STMR. I'm not going to move it early. So we're dual wielding a katana build because he kind of have to has his trespasses. We have to use his one-handed stupid katana to do the build. So here we go. He's got a lot of dark resist for Apocalypse, and we get fire resist from the other thing. And he is naturally confused, and I'm sorry, no he's not. No he's not. He's getting confused and paralyzed immune from Genji Helm, and then blind immunity is being buffed from Folka. Faisalus in the shift form naturally has confused and paralyzed. Anyway, here's his setup. There it is. And then he has maxed LB damage against dragons and demons. Demons and dragons. Pretty hard to build, honestly, at EX1. And then he's got 10 or better LB per turn. And we're getting that from Chow's STMR and Lionheart. That's giving us the LB per turn to guarantee that back-to-back LB from turn 3 to 4. Then Reagan Dark Lineage is using a double-handed katana, Titus's Garb, status immunity with Edgar's Coin. He's easy to gear. Kyrie's Guardian of Light in order to get 10 LB per turn. If you don't own that, Riku's Dagger is fine as well. Max Demon, Max Dragon, and a little Dark Resist for Apocalypse, and then we're getting Fire Resist from Carbuncle. And there it is. There's the card. And there it is. There was the Faisalus Crown clear. Okay. So I've done 2 videos for that. I know this is one of the really harder trials for crowns because Dark Lineage, really narrow category. But EX2, Rain, Lastwell, or Deoxys can all blow it up on turn 2. 150 amp on turn 1, killed on turn 2, you're done. But as you see, if you only have an EX1 Dark Lastwell, who is the worst of the 3, it's still good enough. So there it was. Hope it helps. See you in a bit.